Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video, and today we're going to look at cell referencing and mathematical equations in cells. This video was recorded in July 2021 using Excel 365. So as you've seen in previous videos, in Excel you can type into cells, if you can type, and whatever you type will show in here and it will show in the cell here. And then if you want to make changes, you can make changes by typing it in here, and you can see the results the same between those two. That's fine. Anything we put in there, you can see how that will match the value in the cell. That's fine if you just type in data into the cells, but sometimes we actually need to make calculations. So I've done other videos with regards to functions in cells, but what if we just want to do a calculation? So we kind of have to do it in a similar way to when we do functions, and by that I mean when we're doing a function we prefix it with an equals. And when we do equals, Excel presumes we aren't just going to put text in here, we're going to do something else. And we can do a function, so there's a list of common functions here on the left hand side, but actually what I want to do in this example is do a mathematical formula. So let me just do a nice simple 1 plus 1, and I press enter, and you can see now my cell is showing 2, but up here in the formula bar it's showing the actual formula that I put in. So the cell is showing the results of this formula here. You can do any type of mathematical formulas here, anything you can kind of think of, and again there's the formula and the result is showing. So it's not obvious if you look at a cell here now, you see that 6, it's not obvious, you don't necessarily know whether that is a 6 or whether that is a result of a formula. And yeah, anything you can kind of think of doing. So we'll do 4 times 5 divided by 2. It follows mathematical rules and logic. So you see how those have been created there. Now, also you can reference other cells. So I can say equals E5. So in E6 is the number 10, but actually it isn't necessarily the number 10, it is whatever is in E5. So if I were to change this and do 4 times 6 divided by 2, that's now 12, and you can see E6 changed to 12 as well. And really over here I could say equals, and I can type this, I can type equals E7 E5 plus E6. So there's 24. So if I come to this formula and I make a change to this, you can see that that mirrors that value, and this is the result of those two numbers together. And what's quite cool is, so now I've got this reference in 2 different cells. If I actually click in my formula bar, you'll notice that the E5 is blue and the E6 is red, and now you can see E5 the cell is now blue, and E6 the cell is red. So it kind of shows you visually what the calculation is, because I can actually put that and I can do let's do that plus that divided by E4. And if I were to click on here, E4's purple, and you can see the cell itself is purple, so it's nice and easy to realize, okay, that's the purple bit, oh, it's referencing that cell, and that's referencing that cell. So that's quite good. So with that in mind, I've got a value column here, and I've got a VAT rate column, and then I've got a column to put the VAT value and a column to put the total. So let us now start building something here. So I'm going to calculate the VAT of A2 at 20%. So equals A2 times by B2 divided by 100. And as I've shown in another video with regards to the fill handle, I'll put a link to these videos in the description of this one. But if I grab this fill handle and I drag it down here, you'll see that these values are changing because as I drag this down here, I'm going down the rows. So I'm going down 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 13, and this cell here is referencing A2 and B2, so row 2 on both of these. And as I use this fill handle to drag it down, the next cell, it references the row that it's on. So it references A3 and B3, and this one references A4 and B4. So that's pretty good. So I can drag that down and it will automatically update the row because I've dragged it down rows. It will update the row value here and keep my formula kind of valid on the given row. And then I can say, all right, equals that plus that. And then I've got my total. And again, I can drag this down. And you see the rows are kind of iterating as it goes down. A3, C3, and then I click on this one, A4, C4. So that's pretty good. And actually, just to kind of finish that example off, I've got the months of the year here. So when I use the fill handle and drag down, it updates the rows as I move down, but it also does it with columns. So if I put here, if I say equals E17, and there's January, if I now drag this across, what it will do is it will change, because I'm going across columns, it will change from E17 to F17 to G17. So you can see how the reference is changing because I've used the fill handle and dragged it across. Now it's a really cool kind of tool to use. However, there's things that you need to just be wary of. So let's imagine that actually the VAT rate is now 17.5. I could come down here and I could change each of these to be 17.5. All right, well, you know, it's a little time consuming. So I would rather have a VAT rate in a single cell and reference that cell rather than repeating the VAT rate. I'd rather not have column B. I'd rather it reference a VAT rate cell here. So I want to change my calculation to say equals A2 times by H2 divided by 100, and that gives 17.5%. And now if I drag this down, we don't kind of get what we want. So what's happened is, because I've used the fill handle, and that's kind of what I should be doing, but when I've used the fill handle and dragged down, it has updated both the references to row 2, because I do want to reference row 3 when it comes to here and row 4. So it has updated row 3 and row 4 as I've dragged down. But unfortunately, it's also then said instead of H2, it's gone to H3 and H4, and that VAT rate value isn't in those cells, and that's why this has gone to 0. So just to kind of show you that demonstrably, if I click on that, you can see now we've got that's in blue, and that blank cell is the H6, which is part of the calculation, which is not what I want. What I want is, I want it to kind of keep going down the rows for this value, but I don't want it to, I want that to kind of stay static. I want it to only reference H2, and we can do that. So what we do is, before that row that we want to keep static, we put a $sign. Okay, and now with that $sign, what that means is whatever's following the dollar, do not update it with cell referencing. If I drag this down here, the first one here is A2 and H2, and if I go down here, it's A3, but it stayed as H2, A4, H2. So you see how the row there in the VAT rate reference isn't changing because I prefix it with $1, and that works the same going acrosswise as well. So here I've got E17, and I don't want it to be F and G. I want it to stay E. So if I prefix the E with $1, and now I drag it across using the fill handle, it doesn't change the column value. It stays as E. So all of these stay as E17. One more thing a couple more things really. So if I put here equals sum, and sum, as I've shown in a previous video, sum is a function that allows you to sum a range of data. So I'm going to sum all of those cells and there's the total of those cells. I'll put it in bold. So now we know that these VAT rates here are referencing this field here. So if I were to change this now to be 22, because the VAT now has changed, you'll notice that all of these values have changed, and subsequently all of these values have changed, and also that value has changed, because these values relate to this, these values relate to these values, and this value relates to these values. So everything's you change one thing and there's a domino effect, and everything is dynamic and changes based on that alteration. So if I just change this to 21.5, you'll see all the values are changing. Now let's say I've got a second sheet, and I've got this sheet here, and it's got maybe I don't know, total for a given year, and the year I'm actually interested in, or the value I'm interested in, is in here. I can say equals, and this is at the point where you kind of select a cell. But if I just say equals and I go to a new sheet and I select the cell that I want it equals and I press enter, I've now got a value there of 5467.5, and you can see that it isn't actually a static value, it's dynamic, and it's based on the value of a cell in a different sheet. So now if I come to here and I make a change to the VAT rate and put it back to 20%, and you can see that's now going to 5400, the value in my other sheet has gone to 5400 as well. That's all I'm going to show you today with regard to maths and cell referencing. I hope it was helpful. Any comments or questions, please leave them below and I'll respond to them. I appreciate your time. See you next time.